I wanted to talk about something, and I'm sure that many of us probably have dealt with this, or we probably are dealing with it, but it's anxiety. And the Bible speaks a lot on it about worrying and about not being anxious for anything, and about casting all your um, cares on Him because He cares for you, and which He really does. Jesus does. And but for me, this is something I have struggled with for many years. When I was younger, as growing up, as a teenager and um, a young adult, and even into my 30s, um, I didn't get anxious so much. I didn't have anxiety. It wasn't until I started getting older that I started having more worries and started having anxiety, just get anxious over stuff. And I think it's because uh, getting older, you start having a lot more health issues, and that's what started bringing on the anxiety for me, was my health. And just a lot of different things, worrying about other people also. That's going through a lot too. I'd start worrying about my husband, my family, and when things was happening with them also. So, but the anxiety kind of started creeping up a lot more. And but I recognized it, and I would pray and pray for God to help me to deal with this, and let go of it. And sometimes it would work, and I'd feel better and be calm. And other times it didn't, and something, but it always kept coming back. Now I'm definitely a work in progress, and also I probably, I don't know if I can give like the best advice or anything like that, but I just felt like I just wanted to kind of talk about it and stuff. But um, I'm working on it, and I have been for quite a long time now, for probably the past 5 years, I guess. Now this is something I've been trying to work on, and this is my biggest issue. I think that I have is anxiety, and I remember once a few years ago, I was having a really hard time with something, and I was so anxious that I could feel the nervousness all over me. Just I was literally shaking at times. And I remember I talked to a pastor one day, and he, the only thing he told me was, he said, well, you're not supposed to be anxious for anything, and that really didn't help. It did not help. It actually made me feel worse, because I felt like, oh, I don't have faith in God. That's what it made me feel like. Like, I don't have faith in God that He's going to take care of me. And I have actually heard people say that and that doesn't really help. It could be, it really could be true, at a point and stuff. But I think that being nervous about something is, I think that sometimes it's just a human thing that you really cannot help sometimes. And I don't really think that it's a lack of faith in God at times. I think it's just that that's your flesh. Your flesh is, kind of, scared or something. And but I'm hoping that one day I'll overcome this, and finally get it under control and everything. But I cannot do it without Jesus helping me. I've definitely realized that a long time ago. But the thing that I have been working on and trying to do is, to keep my mind on things above. And anytime that I start feeling that little bit of a nervous, or that little bit of anxiety start creeping in, to think about things of above. Think about Jesus. And I know that Jesus has told me repeatedly for probably the past 4 years. I've heard this so many times, it's on repeat in my mind. Keep your eyes focused on Jesus. Keep your eyes focused on it, no matter what goes on in your own health, no matter what goes on in your own life, no matter what goes on around you or in the world. You keep your eyes on Jesus no matter what. Do not lose sight of Jesus no matter what's going on in your life or in the world or whatever. And the weird thing about it is, the things that I see going on in the world and everything, it doesn't bother me in the very least. I don't worry at all about it. And that's what I can't understand. But things with my own health that causes me anxiety, that's what I worry about. And I'm like, if I'm not worrying about the things in the world that's taking place of what's coming, then why am I so worried about what's happening to me? Sickness or anything, then why do I worry about that? Because if I believe that Jesus is taking care of the things in the world, and I know what's coming, and that Jesus is coming back, and everything in this world that's terrible is going to be fixed, then why do I worry? If he can do that, then why do I worry about my own self? About me having that illness that's not that's going to get worse or something, or and this body's breaking down and all this stuff. Then why do I worry about that? That's where I'm at. That is where I'm at right now. And I think about that and I was kind of like, what is wrong with me? Why do I worry so much? But it is very hard to get rid of anxiety. It is very hard, and because you want things to go good, you don't want any problems, but the Bible says that many afflictions are to the righteous, and that we're going to have trouble in this world. We're going to go through a lot of trials and tribulations. It is a given, and nobody's going to escape from that. But God is there to carry you through if you just stay close to Him. And I honestly have been thinking a lot here lately that with the way that the world is in, and the sin is getting greater in this world, and so therefore the suffering and everything else is getting more intense too. So I think about that sometimes also, and but hopefully, I don't know, something that I said may help somebody. I don't know. Like I said, I really can't give a whole lot of advice, except for every time that you start feeling that anxiety starting, it's usually because you're dwelling on something. You're dwelling on a problem that you're facing. You're dwelling on it too much, and you start thinking about the what ifs. The what ifs is my problem. That's my big problem. What if this happens? What if this happens to me, or whatever? That's my big problem. And you just gotta learn to try and leave it in God's hands. And my comfort is Romans 18. That is probably one of my favorite verses. And for a long time there, I had that on repeat in my mind a lot. And I just love that verse, and I think about that one, about the suffering and the present time. It doesn't even compare to the glory that awaits in us. And one day we're going to be out of here, and hopefully you believe in Jesus and you are saved, and you'll be getting to go to heaven also, and we're going to get new bodies, and there won't be no more of this. There won't be no more of this pain and this suffering that we face here. And so that gives me a lot of comfort knowing that. And I do believe that, our life is just a vapor. We're here and then we're gone pretty quick, seems like. But while we're here, there's stuff to do, I understand. And that's another thing that I'm always asking God, what is His will for me? What am I doing here? What's the reason for me being here? And So I'm still in the learning process. I got saved many years ago, but I backslid a couple, 2, 3 times maybe, and didn't really start really getting serious about my walk with Jesus until probably about 4 years ago, I guess. And he has really shown me a great deal of things about myself that I needed to have help with, and change about myself. But I could never have done anything without him, and he is the reason why I'm still here, I believe. And but anyway, hopefully I said something that maybe try to help somebody, or it resonates with you or something. And if anybody's got any advice for me, I would love to hear it. So thank you for listening to my rambling. That's what I call it. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and God bless you.